right, let's kick off this deep dive, and we're going to be talking about something that I'm sure you've been hearing a lot about and thinking a lot about these days, and that's AI and how it's really changing the game for customer experience.
Hmm.
I mean, we've all heard the hype, but what's the reality here? Will robots be taking over as our new customer service reps?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? And the research that we're diving into today really paints a fascinating picture. It looks like most of the CX leaders, the folks shaping those customer experience strategies, they're pretty optimistic about AI's potential. Deloitte actually found that 9 out of 10 CX leaders believe that AI can improve the overall customer experience.
9 out of 10. That's a pretty strong vote of confidence. I'm curious, though, what are these CX leaders hoping to achieve with AI? Is it just about, like, making things faster, cheaper, or are they aiming for something a little bit more fast?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. The research suggests that they're not just looking for those efficiency gains. They want to use AI to make the customer experience more human, not less.
Hold on, wait a second. That sounds almost paradoxical. How can AI, something that's often seen as cold and impersonal, make things more human?
Well, think of it this way. AI can take care of all those repetitive, mundane tasks that often bog down human employees. And that can free up those employees to focus on the things that require that human touch. Things like empathy, creativity, and problem solving.
So it's about finding the right balance then. Using AI for some things so humans can focus on other things that make a bigger difference to customers.
Exactly. And to give you a specific example, the research actually highlights Maya Gray, the VP of Customer Experience at Pfizer. She talks about AI empowering healthcare providers with personalized patient data, which allows them to have more meaningful conversations with patients and provide better care.
That's a powerful example. So AI could help cut through all the noise and help doctors get to the heart of what really matters,
Yeah.
the patient's individual needs and concerns.
Exactly. But here's the thing. While there's all this excitement about AI's potential, there is also this gap between that optimism and the actual adoption of AI by companies. The research calls this the AI optimism gap.
Okay, so we have this gap between what CX leaders believe AI can do and what they're actually doing. What's holding them back?
Well, it's not necessarily a fear of AI taking over jobs, as you might think. The research actually points to a different culprit, a lack of understanding about how to apply AI to specific customer experience challenges. Companies aren't quite sure where to start or how to even measure the return on investment.
So it's like having all the ingredients for a really gourmet meal, but no recipe to follow.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And to address this, the research recommends creating something called CX labs. These are basically like sandboxes where companies can experiment with different AI applications in a safe environment before rolling them out to everybody.
Ah, so a place to test those recipes and perfect the dish before serving it to the customer. But let's talk about the customers themselves. I mean, are they on board with all of this AI integration? Are people really comfortable interacting with chatbots and algorithms instead of human beings?
That's a really critical question, and the research shows that there's a little bit of a trust issue. Customers tend to be a little wary of brands using AI, especially when it comes to sensitive information or complex issues. There's this fear of being misunderstood or losing that personal connection.
So transparency is key.
Yeah.
Companies need to be upfront with their customers about how they're using AI and what it means for their experience.
Absolutely. The research suggests being clear about when and how AI is being used, and framing it in a way as to enhance human interaction, not replace it. Like, for example, a doctor could explain to a patient that they used AI analysis to support their diagnosis, but ultimately it was their human judgment that made the final call.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's about showing customers that AI is a tool to empower human expertise, not replace it altogether. But let's shift gears for a minute and consider the impact on employees. How do they feel about AI being integrated into their work? Are they worried about being replaced?
That's definitely a valid concern, and the research doesn't shy away from that. Employee trust can definitely take a hit when AI is introduced without considering the workforce experience. But there is a silver lining here. The majority of CX leaders actually believe that AI will boost employee creativity, not stifle it.
Wait, really? How does that work?
Well, think about it. By taking over those mundane, repetitive tasks, AI can free up employees to focus on more creative, strategic work. It's like giving them a superpower to tap into their full potential.
Okay, I'm starting to see the potential here. But we do have to be honest. There are legitimate concerns about job security when it comes to AI. How do we address that?
Well, that's where the concept of workforce experience, or WX, comes in. It's about recognizing that AI implementation needs to be a collaborative effort between CX leaders and their counterparts in HR. It's about making sure that employees are trained and upskilled to thrive in this new landscape.
So it's not just about customer experience, but employee experience as well. They're two sides of the same coin. And this brings us to a really fascinating finding from the research. The link between CX and WX. What did they find?
Well, it turns out that CX and WX leaders actually share a very similar view on AI. They're both optimistic about its potential, but cautious about losing that human touch. However, there is one key difference.
Okay, I'm all ears. What is it?
It seems that CX leaders are adopting AI for internal decision-making at a much faster rate than WX leaders. Maybe they're feeling more pressure to innovate and stay ahead of the competition.
That makes sense. In the world of customer experience, you've got to constantly be on your toes. But ultimately, it sounds like both CX and WX leaders are striving for the same thing, using AI to enhance human connection, not diminish it.
Exactly. It's not about man versus machine. It's about man with machine. And that brings us to the heart of this deep dive. How do we achieve that balance? How do we create a customer experience that is both technologically advanced and deeply human?
Well, the research offers some pretty compelling insights, actually. The companies that really succeed with AI, they're not going to be the ones just using it to automate tasks or cut costs. It's going to be the ones who figure out how to leverage it to really build stronger connections and deeper trust with both their customers and their employees. I love that idea.
Yeah.
But how do we actually get there? What's the secret sauce for creating that customer experience that feels, high tech and high touch?
Well, the research suggests that it starts with recognizing that AI is not a one-size-fits-all solution. You can't just sprinkle it on everything and expect, magical results. Different types of AI are better suited for different tasks. So it's really crucial to choose the right tool for the job.
So it's about being strategic and thoughtful, not just throwing it at every problem and hoping for the best.
Exactly. Think about, for instance, those situations that require the nuance and empathy of a real human connection. Let's say a customer is dealing with a complex financial issue, maybe a denied loan application. They're probably going to want to talk to a real person who can understand their situation and offer personalized advice.
Totally. I can't imagine getting that kind of news from a chatbot. Talk about adding insult to injury.
Right. But on the flip side, AI can be incredibly effective for tasks that are more transactional or repetitive. Think about answering frequently asked questions, routing inquiries to the right department, or even just providing personalized product recommendations based on past customer behavior.
So finding that sweet spot, that balance between AI and human interaction.
Precisely. And it's not just about what AI is used for, but how it's used. Transparency is absolutely key here. Customers need to know when they're interacting with AI, and they need to understand how it's being used to improve their experience.
It's like being let in on the secret ingredient that makes the dish so delicious it builds that trust.
That's a great way to put it. And speaking of ingredients, one of the most crucial ones for successful AI implementation is employee buy-in. You can have the most sophisticated AI tech in the world, but if your employees aren't on board, it's going to fall flat.
Because ultimately, they're the face of the company. They're the ones interacting with those customers on the front lines.
Absolutely. CX leaders really need to make sure employees understand the value of AI and how it can actually make their jobs easier, more efficient, and even more rewarding.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's be real. There's often fear and resistance when it comes to new tech. How do you overcome that and get employees excited about AI?
Communication is key. It's about being open and honest about how AI will be used, what impact it might have on different roles, and how the company is committed to supporting employees through this transition. It's also about investing in training and upskilling programs so that employees feel confident and empowered to work alongside AI.
So it's not just about adopting the tech. It's about bringing your employees along on that journey.
You got it. It's about creating a culture where AI is seen as a tool that enhances human capabilities, not diminishes them.
Now, this whole conversation about collaboration and culture makes me wonder, how are different departments within an organization working together to implement AI successfully? Is it siloed, or is there more of an integrated approach?
That's a great question, and the research actually sheds some light on this. As you might expect, CX leaders, the folks responsible for the customer experience, they tend to be more familiar with AI and enthusiastic about it compared to, their colleagues in other departments.
That makes sense. I mean, they're the ones who are dealing with customers directly, so they're probably a little more attuned to the potential benefits. But isn't AI kind of a hot topic across the board these days?
It's true that AI is definitely generating a lot of buzz, but that doesn't always translate to, widespread understanding or adoption. What's interesting is that while CX leaders are often, gung-ho about AI, there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect with their counterparts in workforce experience, or WX.
WX. Remind me what that covers again.
Workforce experience is all about how employees experience their work, their interactions with their colleagues and managers, the tools and technologies they use, the overall company culture. All of that contributes to WX.
Right, so CX is the customer's experience and WX is the employee's experience.
Yeah.
But how do they relate to each other, especially when it comes to AI?
Well, the research suggests that both CX and WX leaders actually share a similar vision for AI. They both see it as this powerful tool that can be used to enhance human connection and create more personalized experiences for both customers and employees.
Okay, so they're on the same page in terms of the big picture. But you said there's a disconnect. What's the disconnect?
The disconnect is in the pace of adoption. CX leaders seem to be moving much faster when it comes to implementing AI, particularly for internal decision-making, compared to their WX counterparts.
Why is that? Do they have more resources? Are they more comfortable with taking risks?
The research suggests it might be the nature of their roles. CX leaders are often under a lot of pressure to innovate and stay ahead of the competition. They're constantly searching for new ways to improve the customer experience, and AI is seen as a key enabler of that.
That makes sense. The customer experience can make or break a business. So there's a lot riding on it. Maybe WX leaders feel a little less pressure because they're dealing with, their own internal workforce who might not have as many options as customers do.
That's a possible explanation. But it's important to remember that this doesn't mean WX leaders are ignoring AI altogether. They're just approaching it with a slightly different lens, focusing on how it can improve the employee experience, which in turn also benefits the customer experience.
So it's not about who's doing it better, but rather about understanding the different perspectives and priorities that each group brings to the table.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating is that despite these differences in pace, both CX and WX leaders seem to be arriving at the same fundamental conclusion.
And what's that?
That the future of AI in the workplace is all about augmenting human capabilities, not replacing them. It's about using AI to empower employees to do their best work, to be more creative, efficient, and more engaged.
Okay, so we've established that AI isn't about replacing humans, it's about empowering them. But what does that actually look like in practice? Can you give me some concrete examples of how AI is being used to enhance human connection in the customer experience?
Absolutely. One example that we're seeing more and more is the use of AI-powered chatbots to provide 247 customer support.
But I thought we were talking about how AI shouldn't replace human interaction.
Right, but it's not always that black and white. In many cases, AI-powered chatbots can actually enhance human interaction. Think about it. They can provide really quick and efficient answers to those basic, frequently asked questions, freeing up human agents to handle those more complex issues that really require empathy and problem solving.
So using AI to kind of triage those inquiries and make sure they're going to the right person, whether it's a human or a bot.
Exactly. Another great example is using AI to personalize product recommendations. You've probably experienced this yourself when you're shopping online. The website suggests products that you might like based on your past purchases or browsing history.
Oh yeah, all the time. Sometimes it's almost spooky how well those algorithms seem to know my taste.
It's pretty impressive, right? AI can analyze tons of data to identify patterns and make predictions about what customers want. And this can not only improve the customer experience, but it can also help businesses increase sales and build loyalty.
A win-win for both sides. But what about those more complex interactions like you might find in healthcare or financial services? How can AI enhance human connection there?
One really promising application in healthcare is using AI to help doctors make more informed diagnoses and treatment decisions.
I've heard a lot about how AI can analyze medical images and pick up on things that the human eye might miss.
That's definitely part of it. But AI can also look at a patient's entire medical history. Their genetic predispositions, lifestyle factors, and previous treatments. This can really give doctors a much more holistic view of the patient's health and help them make those more personalized recommendations.
That's amazing. It's like having a whole team of medical experts right there at your fingertips.
And it's not just about improving diagnosis. AI can also be used to personalize treatment plans. monitor patient progress,
Mhm.
and even provide emotional support.
Wow, it really sounds like AI has the potential to revolutionize healthcare.
It certainly does. And it's not just healthcare. We're seeing AI being used to enhance human connection in other fields like financial services, education, even government.
So it's not just about which industries are using AI, but how they're using it to improve the human experience.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole conversation so exciting. We're still in the early days of AI, but we're already seeing some really incredible examples of how it can be used to empower humans and create those more meaningful connections.
I'm definitely feeling more optimistic about the future of AI now. It's not about robots taking over. It's about humans and machines working together to build a better future for everyone.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And that brings us to the question of what this all means for you, the listener.
Yeah. What should our audience be thinking about as they're navigating this, rapidly evolving landscape?
Well, the key takeaway is that AI is a tool, and it's up to us to decide how we want to use it.
So it's not about fearing it,
Yeah.
but about understanding its potential
Yeah.
and using it responsibly.
Exactly. And that means asking ourselves some tough questions. What values do we want to uphold as we integrate AI into our lives and work? What are the potential risks and benefits? And most importantly, how can we make sure that AI is being used to enhance human connection, not diminish it?
Those are some big questions,
Yeah,
but I think they're the right ones to be asking as we move forward.
I agree. So where do we go from here? What's the next step?
What actions can our listeners take to make sure they're using AI for good?
Well, I think the next step is to start having those conversations. Talk to your colleagues, talk to your customers, talk to your community about how AI is impacting your lives and your work. Share your hopes and fears, your ideas and concerns, and start thinking creatively about how we can use AI to build a better future for everyone.
A future where technology helps us to be more human, not less. I love that.
I couldn't agree more, and that's where the real magic happens. When we combine the power of human ingenuity with the capabilities of AI, we can unlock possibilities that we never even thought possible.
I'm feeling inspired. But it's important to remember that this is an ongoing conversation, and there's still a lot that we don't know about the future of AI.
Of course, we're constantly learning and adapting as technology evolves, and that's what makes it so fascinating.
It's a journey, and we're all in it together.
Exactly. So let's embrace the challenge, stay curious, and keep asking those tough questions.
Because the future of AI is what we make it.
Well said. And on that note, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
All right, I'm all ears.
As you go about your day, I encourage you to think about the ways in which AI is already impacting your life. Maybe it's the personalized recommendations you get on your favorite streaming service, or the AI assistant that helps you manage your schedule, or the chatbot that answers your questions on a website.
We see it everywhere.
Now, I want you to take it a step further. Ask yourself how these AI-powered experiences make you feel. Do they make you feel more connected, more empowered, more valued?
That's an interesting question. It's not just about the functionality, but about the emotional impact.
Because ultimately, the success of AI won't be measured just by its technical capabilities, but by its ability to enhance our human experience, to make us feel more seen, more heard, and more connected to the world around us.
That's a beautiful thought. Even though we're talking about tech, it's really about people.
Exactly. So as you continue to engage with AI, whether in your personal life or your work life, I encourage you to keep that human element at the forefront of your mind.
Because that's where the true value lies.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into AI and the human touch in customer experience.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into AI and the human touch, what's the one thing our listeners should really be focusing on as they navigate this crazy world where things are changing so fast?
I think the big thing is to remember that AI, it's a really powerful tool, but it's just that, a tool, and it's up to us to use it the right way.
So we don't need to be afraid of it. We get to decide how we want to use it and what kind of future we want to create with it. One where technology actually makes us more human.
That's it. And that actually leads me to a challenge I want to leave with our listeners today. Think about your own work, your interactions with customers, and your company's approach to technology.
Right, I'm thinking about it. What's the challenge?
Here it is. What's one specific way that you could use AI not to replace human connection, but to actually amplify it?
That's a good question. It's about being intentional and really thinking about how AI can make a difference in the lives of our customers and our employees, not just using it because it's the cool new thing.
Exactly. Maybe it's about using AI to really understand what your customers need by analyzing their feedback and then using that to make your products and services better. Or maybe it's about Using AI to give your new employees an amazing onboarding experience so they feel like they belong right from the start.
Those are great examples, using AI to create those moments where people feel seen and heard and valued.
Exactly. The possibilities are really endless.
Yeah.
The trick is to think outside the box and consider how AI can create a more human-centered experience.
So building trust and empathy and creating a sense of belonging.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, the companies that win with AI aren't going to be the ones who just use it to cut corners or save money. They're going to be the ones who use it to make people feel more valued. And that goes for both their customers and their employees.
I think that's a great reminder that even though we're talking about technology, ultimately, this is all about people.
I agree. It's not about AI versus humans. It's about AI for humans.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored AI and the human touch in customer experience. We hope you learned a few things and maybe even got some ideas for using AI to make a difference.
It was great to be here.
And until next time, keep diving deep.